fumes coming through. Oh, there we go. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome back to it. It's another edition of the Triple T Tasty Teardown Tuesdays. This is a V2 show because last week we had different technical issues than we have this week. If you're in chat, just pop us a message there, audio quality, video quality, what it looks like, if it's good to go. Last week we had an audio issue, which we have resolved. Kurt and I have spent some time on looking at what went wrong. Got it all working right. 4 minutes before 8 o'clock, the whole of Durban went black. Apparently a substation in Hillside or something like that has blown up. It goes westfall all the way down to the bluff. The power is out. Not load shedding because I checked the schedule because I'm clever dolphin. Uncle Kurt, or should I say Cursed Kurt. Cursed Kurt. What's up? How you doing? Oh, he's frozen. Don't even joke. What is going on? Man! Kurt, come back to us. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. Okay, you're not frozen. Can you talk?
I can talk. Can you hear me?
Here we go. You froze. I won't lie. You froze.
Yeah, I can see that.
Fuck.
So,
bro, there's some juju going on here, bro.
I bring the gremlins.
Oh, that's because you're using fucking Macintosh.
It's not Macintosh.
It still is in my eyes.
Oh, okay. Can everybody hear me? Is everybody fine?
Okay, whoa. Comments are chatting up there. Manuel Jose Pereira. Hi, everyone. Greg Rapport. Kishan Govender, all good brew. Shaw van Rensburg's all good. Yolandi Foster, what's up, Yoli? Evening all. Yeah, looks like Birdman's in the house, I think. What's up? Chris Doyle's in the house. Vaping Snowman. Michael Horn. Greg Rappapapaport. Government tricks, brew. Maybe. Mr. Paul Foster fights the pug to fuck the pug. Paul Foster Pugs. Steam Pugs, what's up, bro? So many technical glitches today.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
I am drenched in sweat. It is in Durban, we're having a berg wind. So berg wind is like extremely warm, like it's cool in the house, you go outside and it's the sticky, warm, that normally happens like a day or two before heavy rains. So Mr. Lester's in the house. He's like, what's up, Hazard? Yeah, how you doing, dude? I might be jolling with your cousin this weekend. All right. So let's start the show. For those of you that don't know, Uncle Kurt is Vsml. It's like that. Bro, is it cloudy with a chance of meatballs? The Pflichtmismer. Okay. So vaping saved my life. Kurt here was a vape store owner and he's taken it upon himself to become a vape advocate. Kurt, if you can tell us, because I know a few things, but I don't know as much as you. You've just gone through some qualifications with the Nicotine Board in the UK. What was that about?
Well, it's not a qualification. It's an ongoing scholarship. So I got a scholarship for a year with a group called Knowledge Action Change, which is part of the GFM, the Global Forum for Nicotine, which every year they send out an invitation to people around the world that want to look at tobacco harm reduction. And it's open to anybody ranging from any field, and then they go through a selection criteria, and then of of that wide array of individuals, they select 20 around the world to be part of their scholarship program. And in that scholarship program, obviously, there's courses and material that's provided, and you can go through different. Well, you have to go through different courses, but more importantly, is that when you apply, you have to put some kind of program together that that they would help or support with, and then you've got that year to do it, and then at the end of the year, then you present that whatever you've done, and it's quite a prestigious thing from a tobacco harm reduction point of view. It's absolutely fantastic because you get to mingle with some of the world's experts in the field of nicotine addiction, and smoking, and as of course vaping and all the other methods of harm reduction. So I was I didn't expect it, to be honest. I threw my hat in the ring because people from other parts of the world said, just do it, just put a plan together, throw it in, and I was quite surprised when I got it.
Yeah. I mean, that's just this leads into the next thing, and we're going to talk about the petitions, testimonials, and what's going on in South Africa with the vaping scene and the 2018 bill that they're trying to bring up again. So I just want to let people know that you are, well, not a degree, but you have the discipline of the Nicotine Council. You do a lot of background stuff that people don't see in order to be the person that you are. You're not just a guy shouting from the rooftops. I mean, you've got factual information, and your website is off the charts. I've had a look at it again this morning. Very kiff. If you guys want to have a look, Vsml, vapingsavemylife.co.za. You'll be able to jump onto that there. I just want to randomly go through what the front page looks like. Vaping frequently asked questions. Then you got the second thing is the petition. Everyone needs to go and sign that petition if you can. Then there's news on vaping and nicotine controls and stuff like that from all over the world. The next column is testimonials. Now, testimonials are super important for people like Kurt that are trying to fight the good fight for us, because without our signatures, without our voices, Kurt doesn't have a leg to stand on. So if you guys have a free minute, get mom, dad, fucking everyone that you can, get them to do a testimonial at least. And while you're there, you might as well sign the petition, because the petition could put vaping at jeopardy in South Africa. And we've seen these types of things unfold in other countries where it's gone really, really, really wrong. Like India, Mexico, a couple other places where vaping is banned outright. Portugal it's not banned, but they've just made it so expensive it's impossible to vape. Like when I was in Portugal for a week, luckily I'd brought over my own juice and they didn't confiscate or anything. I couldn't afford to pay €8 for a nick up on a juice. It was €8. It was €22 for a bottle of juice and a nick up. 22 euros.
Portugal's got the highest tax rates in the entire EU.
Yeah, and
they have a dual
60
tax.
mils, eh?
Dual tax, yeah.
That's not 120 mil. That's 450 rand, nearly 500 rand for a 60 mil.
Yeah.
So yeah, Portugal's getting bluxumed at the moment. But testimonials. I see that what was the post you did today? 5,000 testimonials that we've got? Or was that
so? Yeah, I mean that's not testimonials. That's the petition number. So we've got just over 5,000. I'll give you the exact number now if you want, because I spend a lot of my time watching what's happening and where it's coming from. So at the moment, we're looking at 5,056 signatures. So that's a petition. So there's a distinct difference, and there's a third element that I'd like to talk about just now, which is critically important for my scholarship, which is probably the most important work not the urgent work. There's a distinct difference between the two things. Important, I'll explain why. So the petition is basically to say, ask the government and ask these policymakers to create a clearer distinction between smoking and vaping within the bill, the proposed bill, because in its current writing, or even in its former writing when it was released in 2018, and now with the amended version of it, there is no clear distinction. The government has pretty much considered vaping and smoking as the same thing and applies the majority of those restrictions and limitations to both products equally, which I think everybody that's on this particular live at the moment would agree that these products are distinctly different, and there's significant difference between the harm or risk that is associated with these products. So the petition is just to say to the government, listen, as vapers, as consumers, we feel that the government is being misled, and they are creating a bigger monster the way the bill is written, and therefore it needs to be very clearly defined. There has to be a very big gap between these two products, because one is the deadliest commercial product available that will kill 50% of its users eventually, and the other 50% will have a dramatic loss in the quality of their life. And the other product, which we all talk about and appreciate, helps people escape that and provides them with a safer or less harmful alternative.
Jeez, just that it's going to kill 50%, dead. If you start smoking, there's a 50% chance that is the reason you're dead.
Well, the reality is that everybody's going to die, but I mean, the 50% will die prematurely.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the majority of those people die from very, very painful and horrible diseases.
That's the serious part of it. Is that
COPDs, strokes. And, I've been quite open about my parents and how they suffered and how the family suffered because of smoking.
Yeah. And
the whole idea around Vsml is to help people and families prevent that as best as possible. I don't give a rat's ass how you quit smoking. I just want you to quit. And I firmly believe that vaping is probably the most effective way that I've seen.
No,
so that's pretty much why Vsml exists.
I wrote it in my first time I did my testimonial was the same thing. Like I was always a very high-end athlete, and when I signed for a contract, I had 3 months of no cigarettes, no alcohol, do my fight. Straight after the fight, walk out of the ring, out of the auditorium, straight into the parking lot, cigarette, beer. And I could give up for that time because there was a limited duration to it, and I knew that it would peak my performance for that much time. But I was back to it straight away. There's nothing ever that I've done that deterred me. I read a book. I did a thing. I went on hypnosis. I tried to give up smoking for good for a long time. I could never get it right. And then vaping, I was just vaping, and I was more interested in about building coils and getting the coil right and the ohms and this and that. And it was 2 weeks later, I was walking around the house and I was looking in things, and Laura was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm looking for my cigarettes." She's like, "You haven't had a cigarette in 2 weeks." I'm like, can't fucking be, because I bought a packet of cigarettes.
That's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because there is now an understanding that a lot of people quit by accident.
100%. I'm one of those. I didn't know I was quitting. I'd resigned myself to the fact that cigarettes were a part of my life.
Absolutely.
But I've still got cigars. I've still got some of my cigars. I had a big collection, and I've still got some of them. I just can't bring myself around to it. Grizzly Vapes, what's happening? Greg Rappaport's Adrian Blichnote is here. CCCC Gaming, what's happening? I know, mate, I didn't see the... Okay. Nick Evans is here as well. What's up, Evans? And Mr. Anderson. Can people from outside of South Africa sign the petition? Why is my chat box not working?
I wouldn't be able to tell you whether they're outside or in. I don't kind of capture that information. I capture name, email address, cell phone number, and all that I do is I make sure that there's no duplicates just to make my life easier, because I do only have these two.
All you have to do is put a +27 in front of your telephone
And most
number.
of the time it's got this in their hand, so I've only got this. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether the individual is from the outside of the country or not.
100%. As long as you got an email address, do it.
Email and cell phone number and their name, and that will help with the petition. The testimonials are critical, and part of our new slogan, you'll notice that Vaping Saved My Life has gone through a little bit of a brand change.
A revamp, yeah.
A revamp. The slogan is "We are the evidence." And it's about us as consumers who have lived experience. And although scientists will treat us, or certain scientists will treat us as being anecdotal, it's not. It's who we are. It's what we've experienced. It's what our loved ones have experienced. It's not just the user itself, but it's the people that's closest to them that benefit from these products too. Because when people eventually do get sick from smoking, and they will eventually get sick from smoking, they will affect people's closest to them. My mom was a prime example. You know, she suffered for many years with small strokes continuously happening, and every stroke taking a little bit away from her. And therefore, my sister, who lived in Cape Town near her, had more responsibilities in order to keep her going. And eventually we had to put her in a home, and you know, she became a shell of the person she used to, because she lost so much functionality that she suffered and was, for lack of a better word, a strain on my sister and my sister's family.
Yeah, sure.
And obviously a strain for us, because we were so far away that we couldn't really do it.
Dude, saw the same thing with my grandmother, bro. She had her fucking throat taken out because of cancer. And I mean, it was in her, she had lumps in her fucking lungs and all of this. And I mean, in those days, you didn't have like mastectomies and stuff like that. But like everything that you breathe with, she had cancer in. And they took her throat out. I mean, I remember she was also like probably 80 something, going a little batty, but she couldn't talk. She just grunt. And she would bath me, and yeah, it was not fun. She just had a growl. Yeah. And
so those testimonials are critical, because it tells the person's story. You know, why they did it, why it's important for them, how they feel better, or what difference it's made in their lives. And that kind of information is unfortunately so sorely lacking in the conversations that we have around the world. And it's just swept aside, and that's just wrong. You know, it's just, I've always believed that smokers and now vapors are treated as second-class citizens, because the spreadsheet says that these people are dying, the spreadsheet says these people are suffering, but that's as far as it goes. We don't put anything in place to assist them. It's almost like, well, you get what you know, this is your punishment.
Yeah.
This is your punishment.
You chose to do that. Knowing the risk, because they wrote it on the box.
Yeah.
They didn't write shit on boxes when I was fucking 15 years old.
And the majority of these smokers had started their habit in their teens. So they were just being teens and being rebellious. And unfortunately, they couldn't get out the habit. And as you indicated, it's incredibly difficult to get out the habit. And whereas vaping, because it has that habitual motion and that similarity, has become so effective I believe that's the reason why it's effective, is because it's the hand to mouth, it's the inhaling, it's the exhaling that made it so effective.
No, for sure. I mean, and it's kind of like a little placebo kind of thing. No, placebo, is that the right word? What's the thing, like the gesture?
The habitual motions of it.
Habitual, yeah, habitual.
Yeah.
That's what I struggled with the most. I used to fucking eat pins when I was trying to give up smoking. Like you have to have that fixation, that little thing. And I also think for the more real vapors and disposables, that's a whole nother problem on its own. But being able to sit down, like I used to roll cigarettes and pack a pipe. So now I've still got that little habit, like, we're going to go out at 6 o'clock somewhere to dinner. Okay, at 4 o'clock, I'm like, okay, unpack everything, clean everything, like, tweak and get it right. And I love that part of it. Kurt, I wanted to spend a bit more of the show. So, Manuel Jose Ferreira's Petra, you know that you don't have to use your whole name. You can just abbreviate it. But thank you very much, bro. From Facebook, he says, we've got 6 followers on YouTube, 15 on Facebook. Why don't we do streaming lives from TikTok so you get more views that way? The emphasis, so we're not really
because we've got grey beard, so I don't think we're allowed on TikTok.
I don't think I'm allowed on TikTok because I don't eat raw liver. That's the only guy that looks similar to me, Liver King. It's not about getting as many, I don't need somebody who doesn't vape watching this. This is designed for people who vape. The channel is designed around vaping, and it's for vape information. People that are interested will follow this. People that find the content interesting will forward it on to their friends. You discredit very quickly something like, I saw this on TikTok the other day. Fuck. Immediately, I think it's fake. Like cooking peanut butter in the microwave to make pancakes. It actually works, but they taste shit, but it's not real. I don't want to be clickbait sensation type of stuff. Look, I've done 2-hour live videos for 3 people before. I've done an hour-long video for 600 people. So it doesn't matter. This content is live. It's broadcast to Facebook and YouTube, and it's there forever until it gets deleted by Facebook or YouTube. But until then, it's informational facts that we can post through to different social media outlets. I have done that in the past where I've taken my Facebook post and I've put it into other social media things. Not really much a resolve. Just to answer that question, sorry to take up some time there. Mr. Anderson says, petition signed, we'll do the testimonial after the stream. Now, what I was going to say is the testimonial is a nice thing because, there's always something a petition that's going around the local area about, I don't know, vagrants or water problems or electricity. But you never get that little box that says, why is it important to you?
Yeah.
So I think that's super cool what you've done and very, very needing in the sort of way that we're trying to do things. It's like I can actually say, I smoked for 20 years. There was no chance I would ever have given up cigarettes until I vaped. And then I can list why and how it improved my lifestyle, my health, And I think giving people that little ability to vent or to release their information, once you start reading that over and over again, it makes the petition a lot more valuable than just a signature. Well,
I think, stories change people's lives. And there's always that one story that tips you over the tipping point. And I've always said, we started the testimonials when Craig and myself started Vsml in 2017. That was the essence of it, was to create a platform where people can share their stories. And we've just over the years tried to migrate those testimonials on something like what we currently have on the webpage, where we now have a database and start collecting these databases. And for me, it's always been, there might be that one story that resonates with another person.
Yes.
That
share a similar
Yeah.
background. Yeah.
That now suddenly realizes, hang on, I have a similar scenario, a similar story, or my mom or dad, or my wife, or my husband, or my brother, sister, they have a similar story. Let's see what we can do. That's the one-to-one connection of a testimonial. But also the testimonials now gives us a database or a bank of people's stories that we can then share to policymakers to say, you know what, you can't tell us we're wrong because this is what we felt. This is how we're feeling.
Yeah.
This is
And you've got
our story.
hundreds of people that you can put into a group. Parents died from tobacco use, or combustible tobacco use. Other ones that had health issues, and I don't know. I used to get like night sweats and anxiety and stuff like that. I still get these things from time to time, depending on the way life's going. But I found like it was way more compounded. I used to call it the 4:30 headache. And it's normally like, I don't know if it was like driving home in traffic or something, the extra tension of traffic. And then I would get this intense headache. I haven't had that headache since I started vaping. Waking up, sore joints in the morning, sleep apnea. I used to wake up Laura because I would stop breathing. And then I would like 2 minutes not breathe. And then I go, and we used to wake her up. She was like fucking ninja mode. Like, what the hell is that? I don't do that anymore. I don't snore. I don't,
So smoking affects every part or every organ of your body. So there's a whole sway of issues that are related to smoking. But, from a testimonial point of view, and that's one of the things where I'm going to talk on to next, is that we see, one of the things that really irks me is that when we have these kind of conversations, we have business conversation and we have industry and government conversation, and they use spreadsheets to vet or verify their position or point of view, and they use numbers and currencies and death rates and so forth. But in the middle of all of this that gets pushed from side to side is the consumer or the smoker. They're not properly quantified. Yeah, they're not properly quantified. They represent a figure somewhere in a spreadsheet. Testimonial says, hang on, we're not just that figure. This is who we are, and this is why we believe in this product so strongly and what it's done for us.
Yeah.
So to build onto that, and it's something that I've done since 2018, is the survey. And the survey now tries to take those stories and put them into numbers. So we look at people, their age, we look at things like their smoking history, their smoking, how big their habit was as a smoker. We look at the vaping products they use, the e-liquids they use, the nicotine strengths they use, and it's quite an extensive. We've built it to be quite extensive because we want to get as much information into a way that we can present it that either side of this equation can understand. It's been very, very helpful to us in the past, and the reason why this one is so important is not only because we are currently in a situation fighting for our choices, and for some people their even livelihood and their businesses, but for the majority of us, it's about our choice. It's also because it's part of my scholarship. So it's a deliverable that I need to present, and I want to present it in the best possible way I can. It has gone through numerous tests. It has been sent to some of the best minds in the industry in terms of, and when I talk industry, I'm talking about the science and policy, so that we can formulate some kind of report to say, South African vapors, this is who they are, and this is what they're currently doing, and and that's why we should be taking these steps differently.
And what about like clinical trials? Is there foundation for that? Like getting current smokers, giving them vape devices, letting them go for proper checkups.
We did that.
Yeah.
We did that in the beginning of the year. So we took 7 smokers.
Oh, okay.
And it's on the website there. We took 7 smokers, and over a 90-day period, we asked them to use vaping products, and every 2 weeks to then provide us with an update. And in that update, we, if they had any issues or any queries, or if they were struggling, then I would act as some kind of mentor to try help them through it. Unfortunately, one of the participants had to jump out of the trial due to unrelated issues. They were struggling with some kind of personal thing, and therefore they couldn't commit to providing those updates and so forth. But there were 6 remaining. All of them had quit smoking. And
in 30
that was
90 days.
In 90 days, yeah. And in fact, 2 of them quit smoking and vaping altogether.
Oh,
so
that's an achievement, man.
So we are planning. We were supposed to have started the second phase already, but unfortunately, other things have now jumped in to push that back. We're hoping to have that start again early next year, depending on what's happening with our current situation around the bill and obviously the tax. And that just became too much, because not only we got the testimonials keep running in the background, but we're pushing very hard to have this petition to as many numbers as we possibly can. And then obviously I need to have the survey out there. I was hoping to have the survey done out there last week, but unfortunately, again, the petition takes priority. So the important versus the urgent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you surmise the petition? I mean, what is the bill? Can you break down the bill into like 5 key points for us so that we understand better what our involvement is signing the petition would help alleviate or try and persuade them in a different direction? What are the like 5-10 key points of the bill that is most concerning to you?
So, I don't want to talk too much about where you can or can't, but there is there is a lot of restrictions around the use of these products. So some of them I agree with, some of them I just think it's going to be impossible to enforce or to police, for lack of a better word. So no vaping or smoking in enclosed public areas so that includes restaurants that might have a section that's dedicated. I must be honest, I don't go out a lot, but I'd be very interested to see how many of those restaurants still have those locations. 25% of it. I don't know of many.
I thought that stopped like 5 years ago.
Yeah. So
You're
I
not
think
allowed
that's
to smoke within 25 meters of an entrance of establishment.
Well, I think it's 10 meters, but irrespective. So if you're in a public area, then there are certain areas where you can't smoke, so close to an entrance or to an open window. You're not allowed to smoke in places like schools and so forth and so on, which is all very well
like normal
fine.
Stuff, like real human, just don't be a dickhead stuff.
Exactly. But one of the things that really concerns me is that, for example, you're not allowed to smoke in your own house if it is used for commercial activity. So if you have a domestic worker that is not a smoker or a vapor, then you are not allowed to smoke in your house.
And if you've got kids.
Or if you've got kids.
Yeah, and you can't in your own vehicle as well.
So, I mean, when I smoked and even when I vape obviously in my own little office outside.
Yeah. But in the house, no.
It's not in the house, but I don't vape in the house. I vape outside the house. That's always been a thing. But it's going to be one of those things that it's going to create a lot of friction and it's going to be impossible to police. So they're relying on the tit-for-tat scenario. So a domestic worker can then go up to a police officer and say, listen, I work at this place and there's smoke.
They vape.
And the
They
police
vape in the
officer
house.
says, yes, I'll get you while I pull this knife out of this rape victim, and then I'll come help you. So it's just one of those really ludicrous things. It's just, we need to tick this box, we'll tick it. Then, of course, there is things like where the products are sold, how they're sold, and all the restrictions related around that. So we knew from the previous writing that, for example, no online sales will be permitted, and no couriering of these products to end users or consumers will be permitted. The interesting thing around that is if you're caught selling and distributing these products through a courier service or postal service, I don't think we have that in the country anymore, you can face a fine or up to 15 years imprisonment. So that's
what? For sending vape gear, for sending a bottle of juice from Durban to Pretoria?
Yes. So that's an issue. The other issue is that
massive issue.
Another issue here is that the product, and that only applies to retail to consumer. Manufacturers can courier their product to a retailer. So wholesalers to retailer is permitted, but if you're going to courier a product like a bottle of juice, you can face up to 15 years.
As a vape store, you're not allowed to do it, but as a manufacturer of the juice, you're allowed to do it.
To the retailer, not to the end.
But the retailer is not allowed to sell it.
But the retailer is not allowed to sell it. So they're not allowed to sell it online, and they're not allowed to
that's very dumb, because I mean, Amazon is investing fucking billions to try and set up here. Bid or buy is just popping off. Take a lot's always been a big thing, and you're going to take that away from the whole. And I don't know if like COVID has forced this issue. I've lived abroad most of my life, as well as my wife. Online shopping is the way you do things. If we're flipping, oh shit, we need to get tomatoes for the salad, order 6 tomatoes from Walgreens and it gets delivered to the house. Like that's just how you do things. And,
so
to streamline the economy and build the country, online is everything. And now you're restricting that specifically online.
Yep.
No, it sounds bullshit, man.
And then there's obviously the usual suspects of no advertising or promotion, and that even extends to including retailers exclusively dealing on the relevant product. So what does that do to shops that exclusively sell these products? Because now you can't promote or even advertise your business because you exclusively sell that. So in the case of, for example, Sir Vape, they won't be able to promote or promote or advertise anything because they exclusively deal in that product.
But no, Sir Vape's fine because we sell coffee and donuts as well. So we'll do a
but that's under a different name,
flyer,
a different company.
Yeah, it's in store.
But it affects the small businesses.
You have to sell car parts and vape at the same time to make your vape business do well.
Yeah, because then you would have to promote your other product and not your vape products.
I get the feel of why the advertising limitations are there, and dude,
why?
12 years we've been a successful industry. We've quadrupled and like doubled every year as a vaping industry throughout the world without being able to advertise.
But you do advertise.
I do and I don't.
You do.
Like
you got a Facebook page.
Yes.
You got a website.
Yes.
You're on Google.
Yes.
That's advertising.
It's not direct marketing though. We're not allowed
to
direct market, but it's still advertising.
Advertising.
They want to take that away? They want to take my website away?
Yeah. Because you exclusively deal in these products. And it's not because of juice or anything, because Bearded Viking provides accessories exclusively for vaping products.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's gone.
Really?
Really. Because it's an exclusive, you exclusively do it. So you would have to make the other businesses mix in.
What do you want me to do? Sell fucking chicken tikka rotis on the side here with the vape juice?
Well, yes. In my interpretation of the law, that's basically what it is.
So you got to do combo deals. Buy my fucking 25 Rand roti for 350 Rand, and you get a fucking couple bottles of juice to go with it.
Either way, it's just a lot of rubbish. Honestly, it's, you know, they're treating us like we're complete and utter idiots, and we are zombies. When we see this pop up on our screen, we just gravitate to it with no control or no ability to implement self-control. So, and then obviously, then we look at things that came into the new interpretation or the new amendments, and this introduces flavor bans, because the minister can regulate what goes into a product. Your
article today.
Yeah, what goes into a product, but it goes one step further. It can actually then regulate the type of device. If you read it carefully, there is another section.
Nothing that has an output of more than 30 watts.
Yeah.
Because then that excludes VUs and all the other guys that are like paying the government, basically, and crushes our market. I wanted to say, is there any correlation between the nicotine strength in South Africa yet? Have they brought that into the play?
Well, if you read that particular section of the bill, they can define it anytime, any place, at any rate. So
how can you support something that's just like,
open.
what, Uncle Kurt, give me 10 million Rand. I have this idea. I'm not going to tell you what the idea is. I will probably make you some money, or I might lose it all. But if you invest 10 million Rand with me, I have this idea. And don't ask any questions. How do you join in on that? How do you go, you know what? That sounds all right. You're signing a contract to say, okay, the health minister can just fucking do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants, when he feels like it. So the first big tobacco company that goes
without consultation.
Here's 10 million. Just change those two words. Just delete that one word and change this word to this word. And here's 10 million Rand. You think our health minister is going to go, no, I'm going to keep... He'll fucking do it. He can be bought. That's just, open... If the parameters are set up so stringently that it's defined in a characteristic of there's no backhands, there's no foul play that can happen because he can't negotiate that. But now it's a blanket statement. It's open-ended.
It's open-ended.
Something's gonna happen. When I feel like it, I'll let you know.
So, and part of that rule set under that section of the law, the health minister has been given the right where he can make these decisions without consultation if he or she feels that it's in the interest of the public. So the guy steps on a soap in the shower, bumps his head on the side of the wall, and then has a realization that all black mods are problematic.
Racist.
Or problematic. Yeah. Problematic, and therefore no black mods will be allowed to be sold in the country.
And people should be scared because he's the health minister. He could actually ban the use of bar soap. He slipped on that bar soap and hit his head. Now he's going to ban bar soap.
No, you can't because you're not vaping it.
Under that specific bill.
Yeah.
But I was going to open up the for chats here a little bit. We've already done 45 minutes. Pardon me. Just call me Jose. I can't imagine without vape shops around, what would happen to the current vapors that cannot vape? Yeah, I think that's where they're trying to
2020
aim
gives
it
us a
towards.
very clear indication. What
Everyone's going
happened
to
in
go back to
2020?
cigarettes. Well, those 50% of vapors will go back to cigarettes because the other 50%, when they go to cigarettes, will die apparently. So,
But there's two fantastic case studies that are live at the moment, where a complete prohibition is in place, and you mentioned them earlier as India and Mexico.
yeah,
And fortunately, I share the birthday with two experts, one in Mexico and one in India, and both of them are avid vapers, and also very, very respected individuals in the field, in the scientific field. And they can get their product whenever they want.
yeah. India buys from Pakistan. They bring it across illicitly, but it's not for sale in India. But we supply to a few shops in Pakistan that sells their product in India. Because when they
Yeah.
gave us their, we need to verify that they're a real store, and they gave us their deals, and we're like, bro, this is advertised in India, and he's like, no, we're in Pakistan, we're fine. It's like, okay, go for it, bro.
So yeah, there's a living experiment at the moment in those two countries, and it just completely black market.
Jeez, bro. Like people, South African people, I'm talking to all you lovely people out there. You don't know what it's like. Trust me, you don't know what it's like. Where people I get emails like, please will you call like the product that they buy from us, whatever it is. They're like, please on the label, will you just write this, and give it this code? Like they know everything so that they can avoid it being seized. And we had 2 parcels returned from Mexico. We had another one returned from Greece. I don't know what's happening with Greece because like all of the best high-end mods come from Greece. So I don't know why Greece was an issue. And then where else was another one? Oh, Japan. Japan, you can vape, you can but you can't buy nicotine. So basically everything in Japan is 0 milligram.
Unless you have a heat not burn device.
Oh yeah, no, and they love their cigarettes, bro. Like big time. Yeah, we've got 2 vape stores in Japan we support, and I said like one guy's just his store. He sent me a video of his store. It's just mechs everywhere because they have issues with the batteries, with the chips. So if like in South Africa, if you import a product with a plug on it, then it needs a electrical compliance certificate. But if it doesn't have a plug, in South Africa, we're still lucky. That's why you'll see your Nightcore chargers and stuff like that don't come with a USB cable, but you can plug USB into it. That's to divert that whole situation. In Japan, any electronic good coming into the country has to have full certification. So they just do mechs. Japan loves mechs. Liliani Skitter. Sy's 'n skitterende meisie. Is that right? My Afrikaans isn't very good. Ashima, hi. This is asking the car mechanic to stipulate regulations to farmers. This is like asking a car mechanic to stipulate regulations to farmers. 100%. Kurt, I didn't know you're a car mechanic. I am a farmer. Brain farmer. All right.
Truck oei.
Flippin' cursed Kurt. Oh shit, my okay, Mr. Lesosa's in the house. Greg Rabapapo is in here, and a terrorist bill proposing that we try and change the government is deemed as criminal. The agenda in seeking the black market, illicit sales, and causing no harm. Greg actually did have a good little mention here earlier. Let me just scroll up and see if I can find it. Greg, is he on YouTube or on Facebook?
Facebook.
Ah, fuck it. Hold on. I'm pretending. I'm trying to look cool, but yeah. I can't fucking see anything. Where was Greg's problem? Greg's on FB. Wasn't the terrorist comment? Thank you very much for terrorist comment. Greg says, let's not forget that you conduct the display in store, that you can't have products and display in store, only allowed to give a customer upon request. So that's in the UK. In the UK, you can't buy cigarettes because they have to be behind black visors. So you have to go with no advertising, with no anything. You have to go, please can I have Peter Stuyvesant red? And then they and they red and they give it to you. But vape gear, disposables are shelves on the front shelf of every company in the UK. So, yeah.
How many brands of cigarettes do you think are out there versus how many different types of vapes, e-liquids,
like just disposables,
accessories?
Disposables beat cigarette brands. I want to say 100,000 to 1.
So according to the bill, Greg is quite correct. You can't display the products. However, you can display a sign that gives the name of the product, the quantity, and the price. So these, can you remember the old days in the music bars where you used to buy the LPs and that? You had those posters where you scroll through those poster sleeves to look at your. So, the way I portray or the way I see this is vape shops are just going to have these rails of posters with a name and a price.
White boxed? So identical font, Jam Monster, Strawberry on a white block. That's what you can advertise, but you can't have their colorful.
It's got to be a menu item. So you're going to have a wall of all these posters with just these single lines of the product, the quantity, and the price. So if you just how many tanks glass or acrylics do you make, Brett?
Oh, over 200.
Okay, so can you imagine now the person's looking for just a glass, acrylic glass? They would have to have 200.
Carlin M.
They could have to create 200 of that list.
Advertisements.
Well, no, they're just a line. So Bearded Viking or BVC, Carlin M, acrylic 1, and then the price. And it's just ludicrous, honestly.
I mean, I don't want to ask the other relevant question, but is it real? Can this actually pass? Is this how a democracy works? Who the fuck voted on this? 6 people in cabinet that never smoked or never vaped or.
Well, that's my biggest bone of contention is that the original bill was presented for public comment over 1,600 days ago. And when that public comment section, which it was 90 days, expired, we're now sitting over 1,500 days since then. During that time and where we are now today, the vaping industry or the vaping stakeholders, which includes the industry, which includes advocacy groups and consumers, and includes scientists, in effect had 4 hours.
Yeah, I remember.
4 hours to present our case.
August
and
14,
to provide,
2019.
It was in May 2021.
No, when they amended the bill, the 2008 bill was in August.
Yeah, so in 2018, so on the 9th of May 2018, the bill was released by Aaron Motsoaledi, Minister Aaron Motsoaledi.
Yeah.
He gave us 90 days, which ended up, or 3 months, which ended up, the last day was the 9th of August 2018.
Okay, yes. So it was from the 9th to the 14th. I remember that so clearly. I was like, what the fuck? How are we supposed to even... And they wanted heavy shit from you. Every customer that's ever bought from you, their invoices. I was like, what the fuck? It's just not possible. And then they amended the bill in 2021.
And in 2021, they provided us, and it was on the 14th of May, because I can remember this clearly, is that there was a big stink, and I made myself very clear in the original session, because there was a session that it was grossly unfair because they had never invited all the stakeholders. They only invited Vipassar, and I got a sneaky invitation. So I made a huge stink to say that they had taken no time to send an invitation to all the vape shops out there for them to participate in it. So they then postponed it to the 14th of May, but the 14th of May in 2021 was Ed. So a lot of our vape shops and a lot of our consumers could not participate because of Ed. So we made another stink for them to then have it on the 17th of May. So there was two sessions, two 2-hour sessions. So collectively 4 hours in the 1,500 and whatever days between the closing of the comments to where we are now, only 4 hours. And to me, that's a travesty. It's a complete travesty. And
especially when they had
it's a blatant lie when they say, it's a blatant lie that when they say that there was extensive consultation, because and in no one's imagination can we ever consider 4 hours versus 1,500 and something days.
Dude, I remember they had 18 months and we had 3 days to reply. So they did, for 18 months they had like heavy consultations, but they never consulted our side.
Yeah.
You see, Quibus has written a fucking paragraph here. I don't know if I should read it because that boy gets out of control sometimes. Why do we always have people in power forcing their legislation about something they know nothing about? They do not care and they resist education themselves. I cannot deal with this legal level of not nice people. I don't know how to edit that out. Quibus! I totally agree, 100% with your statement, bro. It's frustrating at best. And you know what? Like,
It doesn't only apply to vaping, it applies to a lot of sectors in the country.
And I wanted to say it doesn't particularly pertain to our situation in South Africa or wherever. Trust me, they have the same fucking delegation bullshit happening in Germany, in America, in France. I know. I deal with these people and they're like, we're facing a flavor ban. And we're like, we're not allowed to use anything except menthol flavor. What is America, like 3 billion people? So let's say 300.
It's around about 350 million people, yeah.
Yeah. So 3 million vapors. How did 3 million vapors in America not have a say about the taxation and the banning of flavors in their own country? It's because government just doesn't listen. And all you have to do is sign your petition, let Kurt do his work, and don't vote for these fuckheads. I don't do religion, I don't do politics, but it's one of those things, like, unfortunately, we just have to bait fuss and work as hard as we can to try and get some improvement on it. You know what?
I think it's a very complex situation because, you know, the whole topic of nicotine has a very, very dark history, especially in the last 120 years. So there's a lot of memory still in place that makes some of these decision makers very apprehensive to not ban or not have these things available because of that history. And then, of course, you've got people that are just incredibly ideological. Yes. They, you know,
the whole world shouldn't smoke or vape.
Yes. Yeah.
We should be all vegans and do CrossFit.
And it's a lot to do with it from funding from certain groups. And Clive Bates, who's one of my heroes, made a very valid point the other day. He said that some of these groups that are very entrenched in government and policymakers only ever exist because the existence of harm. So if you look at the groups like the National Council Against Smoking, Cancer, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, those people only exist because harm exists. Remove the harm and they have no reason to exist.
Yeah.
So they would then they would inflate and blow up even the smallest harm because their entire economy or in their structures are in jeopardy. So if we look, for example, where a lot of the pressure is coming from on a global perspective, is the campaign for nicotine or tobacco-free kids.
Oh yeah, tobacco-free
So
kids. They're like,
yeah,
oh, the kids don't want to smoke
they are
cigarettes nowadays.
super.
They don't give
They're
a fuck about cigarettes.
super rich, super rich, and the reason why they're rich is because the existence of harm. Now, if you have a product that people can enjoy, but it provides very little harm,
Minimal, yeah.
minimal harm, like you would have for example, a cup of coffee with caffeine in it, they have no reason to exist. And therefore, because there's no harm, there's no need to provide grants or funding or donations to a super rich organization. So they will conflate and inflate all the harm they can associate with, like, for example, the youth epidemic. So we're not saying that the youth should use these products. We're saying is there truly an epidemic, because we are seeing a 50% drop since 2019 in the American landscape
They
of
don't want
youth
to read the
vaping.
stats. They don't want to look at that.
So they do read the stats, but then they'll give some arbitrary reason as to why it's still important.
Yeah.
And a very important video was released last week, or even I think earlier this week. Where am I now? That showed when a person asked them, when is this not considered an epidemic? Can you give us a number? When is youth vaping not an epidemic? Because historically speaking, there is a number that's attached to an epidemic, and there's a number attached to a pandemic and elsewhere. And the answer was one. One kid.
That it doesn't work like that.
Exactly.
Because you get one kid like me who just fucking bucks the system his whole life, and I will fucking smoke because you said I can't. So that derails 40 million adults throughout the world who survived due to vaping. Survived the
85 million.
85 million. There we go. 85 million people vape.
Yeah.
How many people smoke?
1.3 billion.
Yes! And we're such a controversial thing at fucking 85 million versus a billion.
You see, vaping represents the microcosm of the world's problems. And the thing is that it's such a disruptor. So it not only disrupt the tobacco industry, which they then adapted in order to participate in this experiment, or in this particular product. And I know a lot of people begrudge the tobacco company, and they have a lot to answer for. But as a tobacco harm reductionist where I sit, it's important that these companies do evolve and produce products that could be beneficial. And yes, there's the whole profit thing and so forth, but please provide me with the name of a company that doesn't exist for profit. There's no company.
None. Even the fucking charity companies, the NGOs, non-fucking profit organizations, they get paid first. To me, that's somebody getting an inflated salary, that's profit. I wanted to say, there has to be record. Like, I'm going to talk about America because I think these sort of things were documented way before any other country thought of doing it. America's got a very good history of documentation, like where they're going. What was the teenage smoking rate in the 60s? What's the percentage of teenagers that started smoking in the 60s? If it was 35% of teenagers started smoking, 50%, what are we looking at nowadays versus smoking and vaping? How is nicotine, the consumption of nicotine in any form, is that increased over the years, or has it decreased? Because I feel like I see less people smoking and vaping than I did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, fucking everybody smoked in their cars. While you're sitting in the fucking car in the parking lot while your mom's in spa, your dad's smoking in the car with 4 of you on the back seat. Like, that was just normal.
Yeah.
I think the world's become more health conscious, and I don't think that the numbers show this reflect the same per capita percentage. Does that make sense?
So I really can't tell you what the smoking rate was in for youth in the 60s, but I would have guessed that from a whole population point of view, there was more than 50% of the population that was smoking in the 60s. I don't have that data on hand. What I can tell
it's
you,
less than 30% nowadays.
well, from I can give you what the youth is, because interesting enough, and this is something that the reason why the survey is so important is because there's no statistics really around, or there's very little statistics around adult smoking. South Africa did their first ever global adult tobacco survey in 2021. And in that particular, sorry?
Who did that survey?
So it was done by the South African Medical Research Council, and it was funded by Bloomberg, World Health Organization, and the CDC Foundation.
Bloomberg.
So the usual names pop up. But in South Africa, we have I think it's 29%, 29.5 or 29.7% tobacco users. 25.8% of them are daily smokers. And that's a survey of 15 years and older. So, and we have only a 2.2% vapors based on that study. So, but if we look at, for example, what I think where you're leading to is that there's been a rapid decline in smoking since the 1960s. But you can see that this, depending on certain scenarios, the smoking has dropped. But when it comes to the youth, in 2021, 1.9% of people surveyed under the age of 18 were smokers. That is the lowest of ever recorded in youth. And what it's very clear, what it very clearly shows is that sudden drop of the 14 odd or whatever percent down to 1 happened in conjunction of vaping, when vaping became popular since 2014. So vaping then acted as a substitute, and then subsequently since 2019, which was where the epidemic came from, was that 25.7% of the youth in America were vaping. But what they define as vaping is if you had one puff in the last 30 days, which skews the statistic completely. When you drill down and you start realizing that these are just experimental, or they're just someone that said, okay, I'll give it a try.
They were at a party having a couple of beers, 16 years old, they fucking dragged on somebody's USB stick for a TikTok, and now they're a vapor.
If you look at the regular users, it's a far less of a number. But since 2019 to now 2022, there's been a 50% drop. So we're now sitting at around about the 11% mark of vapors, and that means one puff. But if you look at the numbers even closer, I'm not at the top of my head, I can't remember the exact number. But the actual teens that are using the product on a day-to-day basis every day is really, really low. But here's the kicker, and here's the most interesting thing. Historically, the survey was released, and since 2014 included vaping and smoking together. The CDC refused to release the smoking stats. They only released the vaping stats.
So the vaping's on the incline, and smoking must be going down because of vaping.
Yes. The cynic in me says that there's a reason behind that, because it's the same survey. They collected at the same time. And the fact that they released the e-cigarette or the vaping data and not the smoking data, immediately my ears prick up and I get question marks flooding into my brain. But it's also in correlation to what's happening in the FDA and all the pressure that they're receiving around the MDOs and the court cases. And now they're under review because now an independent party has to look at their processes, because they're now facing over 30 court cases by vape companies in America because of the way that they've approached this.
Conducted
So,
yeah, 100%.
so this is just another tactic for these groups like the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, Bloomberg, PAVE, and the CDC to now divert and bring the focus back that there's now 2.5 million youth in America that are vaping, and the majority of them had one puff in the last 30 days at taking a survey. Then when hard questions are asked, the question then poses that we can't use this stat and relate it or compare it to the previous years because there's been a change in methodology.
It's the same fucking thing.
So
there's
a lovely book called How to Lie with Stats.
Last year you were taking fucking clipboards and paper with a pen. This year we're using tablets, so it's obscured because you couldn't reach enough people with your pen and paper, and there's way more people. But that is actual people, because somebody's taken their time to sign your petition, to sign your thing. Like it. I can just imagine what happened in that. I can just imagine what happened in that boardroom, because when they got the 2021 stats, it showed. Thank you, Quivers. Appreciate you putting in the things there for Vaping Save My Life.
Thanks, Quivers.
The petition. Thank you, Quivers. Appreciate you, bro. Sorry, good.
In 2021, the stats showed a significant drop, a massive drop, which they didn't expect. So they came up with the excuse. Yeah, they came up with the excuse, or the reasoning is that because of the pandemic, a lot of kids were at home, so we couldn't use those stats. In 2022, when all those kids went back to school, they saw a very slight increase again. But now they said, because of the change of methodology, we cannot compare this to previous years. So I can imagine how the brains and the gears were ticking in that boardroom to say, how do we explain this away? What can we say that could literally indicate that we still have a major problem? And the reality is that there isn't a problem. And the world is desperate.
Epidemic.
But they refuse to then put it into context with other risky behaviors that are happening in around the world with regards to the youth. We know that, for example, drug abuse has gone through the roof. We know, for example, in South Africa's context, that alcoholism has gone through the roof. I mean, just the other day, we had that case of those poor kids that had died in the Shebeen. We also know, for example, that the youth in South Africa, HIV or infection rate is climbing through the roof. We also know that, for example, underage pregnancies are climbing through the roof. But they refuse to have that discussion and show that the youth are struggling and are exercising or practicing very risky behaviors, and it's got nothing to do with a product, but maybe it's got something to do with society as a whole.
Yeah, the pressure
these kids are desperately, these kids are stuck in very, very strange times and very little support in order to help them, and that's globally.
Yeah, so, I mean, dude, back in the old days, we used to have to go to school and walk through a public park to get beat up before we got home. Now kids can get fucking beaten on social media in their own lounge, and they by themselves in their house. They can get seriously abused. Yeah. So
just look at the suicide rate.
Methodology, but the numbers are the numbers.
Yes, the suicide rate is a prime example. So, but they refuse to have that kind of conversation, because all it does is it actually points that there is a bigger problem here and they want to blame it on something. So they'll try to divert all the attention to this one thing. If you look at what's happening with the opioid crisis that's happening in America, and how many teens are dying from that.
Yeah. I mean, if a vape would
crazy.
If vape would give them the vent that they need, they didn't have to do drugs. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Like, you know what? By legislation, we'll throw a little bit of vitamins inside there, so while they're getting their nicotine, they get healthy too. But good. Yeah, we were way over time. Thank you so much. I do appreciate you. I know I could sit here for another hour. We're going to sit here for another hour and talk shit. But that'll be in Valhalla, the Bearded Viking Patreon Zoom room. If anyone jumps in there, let's go have a chat. Uncle Kurt, like I said, this is your show, and I'm very appreciative of all the information that you've given us. It's mind-blowing. Like, the number that sticks in my head is we're 85 million and they're 1.3 billion. And they're scared of us. I think we're doing something right.
I just thank you, Brett. I really do appreciate you providing this channel and this platform, and always extending and helping where you can.
Absolutely.
I just want to talk to everybody out there. Please share that petition as far and wide. I encourage people to do their testimonials if you have a story, and if you are a smoker, ex-smoker, and now vapor, you have a story. And then just look out for that survey. It is critically important, because now that gives us actual data of the situation. Testimonials give the story, it gives you the meat on the bone. The survey gives you the bone, the structure as to why these stories exist. So please have a look out when that survey gets out. I'm wanting a lot more than we got in our previous iteration of it, which was 2,147. I'm wanting a lot more. I'm an optimist. I'm hoping to get to a 4,000 mark, but based on our petition numbers, I think that's going to be a tall ask. But it would really help me, and it would help all of us if we start collecting accurate and proper data that the government and these health groups refuse to do. They refuse to do this data, this survey. The only thing they're interested in is, do you vape?
Yeah, I think they just,
and that's not a good enough thing.
Off of economics.
Yeah. Do you vape? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. We're not interested in why do you vape?
Why do you vape? How long you smoke cigarettes for? How has it improved your lifestyle?
None of that. So please, look out for that survey. Please sign the petition. And if you have a testimonial, we'd love to have that testimonial. Thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Berserkers, we're going to pop off to Valhalla now. If you want to become a Berserker, it's $5 a month to join the Patreon page. There's no tier levels. There's no special nothing. All you get is the Zoom room to chat after the live shows with whichever guest we've got, as well as the rest of the Berserkers. It's normally quite a fun thing. We have like 10 guys, 20 guys, 30 guys sometimes in there, talking shit, drinking, having fun, just relaxing, just catching up with each other. A little bit of men's mental health goes in there as well. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, thank you so much. I'm the Beard, and this is the Triple T. That is Uncle Kurt. Boop, boop. And he's frozen, because we're plagued by issues when we have this man on. But thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that nonsense, especially to the YouTube channel. I need subscriptions on YouTube. I need to get 1,000. I'm like 970. I need to get over the 1,000, please. Love you lots. See you next time.